the economy, as you know, on this morning, your program, we will do, hop and step wherever we think the news is today. And what is more important than the economy? And so let's look at, shall we say, we have the Minister of Finance is also the coordinating Minister of the Economy. And so Mr. Wale Edun, he was at the, what's that thing called? The retreat that all the ministers had. And there he was saying some things that have been reported this morning, that if they could achieve, achieve a few goals, rein in inflation, increase productivity, boost savings and investments, then this would generally help towards improving the general standard of living of our people. Okay, we have some experts this morning, and we'll look at it in that regard. Let me introduce Honorable Tunde Olatunji. He's a finance and economic expert. Thank you, as always, for coming on. It's been quite a while, but we're delighted to have you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Good morning.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Okay, so now, before we begin, we have a sound bite of the coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, from yesterday.
We need to deliver. We need to perform. The expectations of Nigerians are heightened. Mr. President has already set the ball rolling to put Nigeria on the course that will take it to rapid, sustained, and inclusive growth.
Okay, so there we are. And let me ask you, first of all, there's so many things that must be done because our economy is in a delicate stage, according to all the experts. And people are really optimistic that, well, yeah, Mr. Wale Edun, an investment banker, he's been around the financial terrain for quite a while. And so they feel that, yep, we have a person who really understands what the issue is. Now, since I would count you among those kind of people as well, I wanted to ask, what in terms of priority would you prioritize if you were in his shoes?
Well, thank you very much. Let me first, appreciate Mr. President for his choice of Minister of the Minister of Finance, and also ensuring that we have a Minister of Finance who will call it double as a coordinating minister for the economy. That alone in itself shows the policy direction of government, that MDAs can no longer continue to work in silos. And so we now have a Minister of Finance who would also, in addition to play his role as being in charge of the finance of the country, also coordinate the activities of various MDAs to ensure that we synchronize all activities of our MDAs, because whatever the MDAs do in terms of their economic activities, it has a fiscal implication on Nigeria as a whole. So I think the starting point will be that there should be a sort of a framework that will allow our critical MDAs, particularly the revenue generating agencies and those that will play a very key role in the economic revival of this country, to be able to have a common objective, for them to be able to work together. And you take, for instance, we have challenge with power. And then if the Ministry of Power is just focused on building, say, a gas turbine, and without the Ministry of Energy or Gas or Petroleum being aware of what is done, you could build the turbine and then, getting the gas supply could be a challenge. So we need to ensure that our ministries work together in terms of having the same focus for the economy of this country. Also, secondly, is that, the two major structural defects that has plagued the economy of Nigeria, which the president has been courageous enough to address, which is the subsidy removal, as well as, the the discrepancy or the non-uniformity of the foreign exchange of the country are also two major directions that needs to be sustained. As it is today, you can't even begin to. A lot of Nigerians expect to see a reduction in the pump price of fuel, which of course it is understandable. You can see that there's a strong link between the pump price of fuel and the exchange rate in itself, which means in solving the pump price crisis, we need to do something about our foreign exchange. And it's not just about doing something about our foreign exchange. It's unfortunate that Nigeria is the only OPEC or oil-producing nation that doesn't have refining capacity. So something needs to be done about local refining of our product. I mean, if you refine your product locally, naturally you are going to bring down the prices. And again, is the fact that when we're able to do something with our foreign exchange, because we must not also forget that when you refine locally as well, crude oil is traded not in local currency. So we must ensure that we do something about sustaining, that drive to ensure that we bring down our currency. The challenge with our currency exchange presently is quite challenging, and that means we need to do something about the demand side of it as well as the supply end of our currency, because now is a free float, and the forces of demand and supply what dictates the price. But even at that, as a government, we have a role to ensure that our currency is being properly supervised. So the coordinating minister would have to work closely with the Central Bank of Nigeria, and that's going to be the monetary policy aspect of our economy, because there are two forces that will interplay. The coordinating minister would look at the fiscal policies of government, and then the central bank would spearhead the monetary policies of government. Regardless of the autonomy of the central bank, there is need for the two to be able to work together. And I think being a coordinating minister is also one of his roles. He must be able to work and interplay with it, so that we won't see a divergence of strategy. We will see a convergence of our policy. And I think this will begin to set pace and will begin to lay foundation now for the economic revival of the country that we're looking at.
Okay, we've since been joined by Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed is a stockbroker. He's CEO of Finance with Mukhtar, and he's reaching us remotely today. It happens now and again. Sometimes we're in the studio, sometimes it's remote. Good morning to you, Mukhtar.
Morning, Uncle Yaron. What a pleasure to be on your program today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, as always. You're on the program with Tunde Olatunji, finance and economic experts in the studio here. So let me ask you also the question. You've heard what I asked him, what he would prioritize. And it's actually, he's given me, because of the nature of the question, it's not a simple answer. And I noticed, and you could comment on that if you want. I noticed that he was really using the title coordinating minister of the economy. He is the minister of finance and coordinating minister of the economy. And so that's said to me that, it goes beyond just being minister of finance the way we know it. So with that kind of a backdrop, if you agree, then what would you prioritize?
Thank you, and thank you. My colleagues in the studio, the Honorable, it's nice being with you too. Well, this is the second time I think we are having an Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. When it last happened, we saw how economy move, even if some people will say it moved slowly, but there was coordination, especially when you remember some of these stories that were flying around then. The minister was able to coordinate some of these activities. I think for the minister, what I say is that he has been behind the team for a while. He's one of the think tank of the administration before inauguration, and then after the inauguration. Not to forget that he was first of all made a special advisor on monetary policy. So he's been in there. So most of the decisions that have been taken by Mr. President were not taken without his knowledge. Maybe it could be the removal of subsidy, which the president said it's just something that he did himself, but at least subsidy was supposed to go. whichever way, but maybe it would have been a different approach than what we are seeing now. So for me, I think he's the right man for the job. When you listen to him talk with some of his colleagues, I mean, when he took over in the Ministry of Finance, most of them were actually looking forward to work with him. So we no more have a treasurer. That's what I called the previous Minister of Finance, because what we know is he just come and tell us how much distributed, how this and that, and a lot of issues were there instead of telling us, what are the financial, the economy policy that was driven by a special advisor on economy. And you know how our economy turned out to be. I think it's a good decision having him there as the Minister for Finance and Economic Planning. He's a seasonal economics, and you look at what he has done before. He's been in all the sectors. He's been in all the sectors.
Exactly. I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Mukhtar. Yes, I hear what you're saying. But setting, the tasks ahead of him, I, for instance, along with millions of Nigerians, don't want to pay as much as I am paying for a liter of fuel. But as Tunji has just said, as Mr. Latunji has just said, that will be dependent on the strength of the naira vis-a-vis the dollar.
Mukuyori, when you talk about the naira to the dollar, we need to be very, very patient. We are where we are today, not overnight, and we will not live where we are overnight. And we must know that forces are playing in this instance. Despite the forces of demand and supply that everybody is saying, there's also the forces that don't want this policy to work in terms that they've enjoyed it. So definitely, those are the speculators. So when you look at that, the major challenge with the current policy is in the area of supply, not giving demand, because demand will always be there. The supply side, and what are we supposed to do? When you look at supply, there are four major areas that we earn supply. We look at from Nigeria and the diaspora. We look at our sale of our crude oil. We look at foreign direct investors or portfolio investors, and we look at and trade. Now, as it stands now, when you look at all those areas, maybe the only area that is still very visible is the area of remittance. But that remittance now have a challenge, and I think that is what he will need to coordinate with the central bank, because we have various apps now where Nigerians do their transfer to their Nigerians abroad. How are we going to work and coordinate those things to make sure that we have those dollars coming directly into our economy that will increase supply? Those are part of what he will work on. So there may be a synergy in that area with the CBN. When you look at crude oil, that is beyond him. That has to do with security. The government need to think about how to improve upon that so that we can have security, so that we can begin to meet even our OPEC output. When you look at foreign direct investors and portfolio investors, none of them will come now because you've not achieved stability. So you must achieve stability so that when I'm coming in, and I'm coming in at a rate, I might be going out that rate, and even if the difference in going out do not be as wide as what it is now because of the volatility. Okay. So he needs to work on that. If he's able to get that, remember now, in your program, I always say the challenge we have with the previous administration is that it seems to be that the CBN became both monetary and physical side. The physical side was non-existent. But now I believe that with what Wale do, we will see the physical side comes up with policy that will work in synergy with the monetary policy. But people should understand that it's always very difficult for monetary policy and physical policy to have the same agenda. So your agenda as a physical policy is to make sure that your people, especially employment, trade, businessmen, are able to enjoy relative, maybe not too much stability, but their business are able to strive forward with some of your policy. Now, the physical side, the monetary side is just there to make sure that they do what they have to do. That's why we have the independence of the CBN. So we will not see that, like my colleague in the city is saying that, he may have to talk to CBN. As a coordinating minister, you should not forget that the CBN is independent. He will need to do what he ought to do, and the CBN will not do what they ought to do. Once you do what you have to do, the physical side do what he has to do, then you see that synergy naturally comes to play, and the economy will benefit from it. But when the physical side is the one directly intervening, monetary side is directly intervening in physical side is indirectly intervening in monetary side, there will not be synergy, and then you see the economy crumbling little by little. So For me, I think he has started at the right note. He has set up his agenda of we must make sure we have this and that. But we must know as Nigerians that he has no control over the exchange rate. That is the monetary side. He needs to do the physical side that we generally bring trade down. And when you talk about physical side, what are those things he needs to do? He needs to look at the cost of doing business. He needs to begin to talk about how he can rejig the economy, because we are not having the type of investors we want to have that will come there to stay. And those things are not something that he will just achieve overnight.
All right.
There will be a lot of policy and sometimes a lot of suffering.
Thank you very much, Mukhtar. In fact, it's just as well that you went there, because you started with that we have to be patient. You started off from saying that we have to be patient about this. But he also made the point, which I think you also indicated when you were speaking, that all of these things, all of these different aspects really have to be coordinated. And the fact that we now have, for the second time, as he was pointing out, Okonjo-Iweala was the first, a coordinating minister of the economy. It's going to be easier to do, perhaps, because it is simply one person now. But let's go to what we need very sorely, and that I think is this thing economists call foreign direct investment. We just need a lot more of that, it would seem, than we are getting. And one of the reasons he alluded to it is that no investor is going to come if he's not sure that the lie of the ground is what I see now and can be banked upon, that I can go in there. We have often, it has been said that the plague with coming to a place like Nigeria, in spite of the big asset we have, which is the population, the sheer numbers, is that you never know. You never know how long a thing is going to last in Nigeria. What do you think of that criticism first?
Well, let me start by saying that foreign direct investment will thrive on a number of factors, and are very important that you need to put in place. Number one is that your ease of doing business as a country is very important to attract investment. We have to work on the ease of doing business. How is it easy to do business in Nigeria? Number two is that there must be stability in your economy. Very important. Political stability is key, and it gives direction, and it tells the investors where to go, which country not to go. Again, it's also that the free exit and entry and exit of the economy is very key. If I put my money into the economy and it is time, for instance, for me to repatriate some funds, will it be quite easy to do all of those? These are very, very jamming questions that we need to ask ourselves. And again, it's the fact that while we pay attention on foreign direct investment, which may not come overnight, but we work on that. Within our country too, there are quite a number of other investment that we can attract and we can support. Now, I feel so strongly that over the years, the small and medium scale sector had not really been supported the way it should. And it's also one of the areas I expect the new minister to look into and work with other agencies to give attention to them. The small and medium scale sector, for instance, is responsible for no less than 70% of jobs that you have within the country. And they have capacity to generate more. So while we give attention to foreign direct investment because we need them, we need to grow it, there are some other low-hanging fruits that we must begin to look into. What do we need to do to incentivize local investment? What do we need to support some of our businesses that has closed down because of the business climate that is not friendly? What do we need to do with power so that when there's power, of course, a number of our industry that are relocated out of Nigeria because of the challenge of power would be brought back? There are some areas of our economy today that if we look at it, take for instance, the port's congestion. A report said Nigeria loses about $55 million to the congestion that happens at the port. It simply means that if we do something about our port congestion, which is of course going to be a multi-sectoral approach, and I'm happy that we now have a ministry that is going to be charged with that responsibility with the marine and blue economy, and having someone who has a pedigree in leadership and understand the workings of government. Can we see a synergy towards restoring the infrastructure in our port? These are areas that can attract investment. I was talking to someone recently. Look at it. You look at the table of agri import into this country. After wheat, you have sugar, then you have fish. Nigeria has capacity not only to do more than it's doing in terms of wheat. We have capacity to meet our wheat production needs. But if you look at how much Nigeria spends bringing in wheat into this country, a CBN report says that we import wheat worth $2 billion per annum, and we have capacity to grow this locally. You look at how much we spend on fish production. We have the waterways, we have the Atlantic, we have the ocean, which is massive, and that is the features of blue economy, for instance. Can Nigeria look at developing aquaculture, which are things we can begin to look into with the Ministry of Agri, with the new ministry that is in place? And what that tells us that naturally we are going to begin to see, a slowdown in the demand from that sector for forex. We are going to create jobs within our country. That is in the area of, so we've seen the area of agriculture, we've seen what we can do with marine, we've seen what we can do with manufacturing, which is very key. A large country like ours, we need to have a strong manufacturing base, and that is the truth. When we have a strong manufacturing base, we're going to create jobs for people, we're going to create wealth for them, we'll be producing what we're needing. We'll not only do that, we'll be able to leverage on the African continental free area agreement and be able to even sell some of our product outside the country. So, we see some of these areas as areas of concern. We see them as areas that we need to give attention to. We see them as areas that by the time we begin to take steps in those directions, we are going to see an improvement in the well-being of the people, as well as the well-being of the country. It will drive our productivity, because when your people gets to work, when your people gets productive, your nation too gets productive. But if you look at the number of Nigerians that are out of job, not to even talk of those who are underemployed, then you can see that we're losing a large number of productivity. So we must also begin to look at sectors with employment elasticity, sectors that can, create good jobs, sectors that can absorb more people to come into them to play. And these are very critical areas that we must look into.
Indeed. Mukhtar, all of which is leading in the direction, well, the minister has spoken about this already. As I said, it's the subject of one of the papers this morning, the nation in front of me this morning, Edu, hyperinflation, low GDP per capita to end soon. That's Wale Edun's that is quoted on there. And what I have just heard here from Tunde Olatunji, it really goes back to what he has said, that we need to find a way to boost savings. And, most people, everybody knows the sense of savings, but the thing never reached me, is what the ordinary person will tell you. It never reached me. You're now saying that I'm not saving. But if employment can be boosted, then I imagine that all of these things will begin to fall in place. So, in fact, when the Honorable Minister was talking about reining inflation, increased productivity, boost savings, and investment, all of that seems to be one sort of integrated design, doesn't it?
Yes, Uncle Yori. When you talk about savings in any economy, those that save are always the middle class. And you ask yourself, do you still have the middle class in Nigeria? I don't think we do have the middle class in Nigeria any longer. So savings greatly is becoming like a mirage for a lot of people. Because when you're talking about savings, now what we have in Nigeria, we have the very rich, the very poor, the poor. There's no middle class. Because people that have supposed to be middle class, that are ones that have very skill, they work in good jobs, they are the ones that pay taxes, are virtually jackpotting out of the country at the moment. So if I was the minister, if you are thinking of boosting savings, then you need to think about how can you begin to make sure highly skilled Nigerians are still working in that economy first.
But Mukhtar, sorry to interrupt, Mukhtar. As you say, this whole Japa syndrome, and you have a lot of our people, and not just the youth, who are indeed immigrating. Is it immigrating or emigrating? In short, they leave Nigeria, go take on citizenship, go through all their conditions. But in the West, as I don't need to tell you, it's full of woes, stories of woes. You see people sleeping on streets. Some people are beginning to say, if I had known, I might not have come. But at least what they end up with is, well, at least this or that. But in short, it is not easy out there at all. Yet people continue to go, and the rest, I think they're probably doing a double take now.
Yeah, we are president in the United States. So definitely, I can tell you that, yes, it's tougher here. But again, you're looking at the middle class that are coming here, they are skilled. What they do when they come here, they are ready to do a lot of the jobs that they will not be able to do in Nigeria
they wouldn't
because
think
of
about.
the kind of money they will be paid. Now, that is one. Secondly, what we have here is not because the economy is crying or they have infrastructure. And there's a lot of opportunity for growth. So that is what the minister needs to begin to look at. How do we build our infrastructural gap? How do we create opportunities for our youth? Some of our youth are very enterprise youth, but a lot of things happen that they are not able to, opportunities. When you read in the newspaper, there is employment. Employment are done through the ministers. You see a certain parastatals is being run by, all the employees in that parastatals are the sons of ministers, the sons of governors. You are not impressed about that. So what we need from the coordinating minister of economy, which he's trying to do, is to make sure that you have, you create that employment opportunity. Like my colleague in the studio said, one area he needs to look at the SMEs. He needs to look at how do we boost these SMEs. Now there's a policy they are going with. They say they're going to give many SMEs some amount of money to grow their economy. That is fantastic. Now, as a nation, when you are telling the people to save, and you as the nation is not even saving very well, and that is turning back to have an effect on the people, how will the people be able to save? Savings is a good culture, but it's, I think one time we said it in your studio and you somehow said it. Is it not somebody that's eating very well that will still have something to put aside? If you are still grappling with house rent, you are still grappling with transportation, you are still grappling with school fees because the public schools are not there, then how do you save?
Indeed.
So that is the major challenge. Now, when you're looking at the SME sectors, he talks about the small businesses. How can you help small businesses when they are having multiple taxation? Thank God there are already a tax team which will work with the coordinating minister to make sure we don't see local government come to collect rent, don't see state government come, and then we don't see federal government come, and then that is impacting on the cost of doing business. Now, the cost of doing business, what is causing hyperinflation in Nigeria? It's just one thing, Okunyori. The exchange rate volatility is there because we are not importing so much. Exporting so much. We're importing so much. So what we have now is a challenge. When the exchange rate goes up, our inflation will go up. Naturally, if we're able to solve the exchange rate volatility, it will go down. I give the case of Kenya. Kenya did the same thing we did. The president came on the very first day of inauguration and said subsidy is gone. We're not going to pay subsidy. Now, when he saw that it was biting very hard on the people, he said, you know what? We won't go back to paying subsidy. But what we'll first of all do is that we'll first of all see how we can reduce tariff from household goods that we know are mostly used by Kenyans. We'll bring down the tariff, almost zero tariff, so that will bring down the cost of those goods. And
okay, I beg your pardon. I'm going to have to interrupt you, but thank you very much. We'll come back and we'll continue with it. And stay with us, please. We'll be right back.
Politics is defined as getting what, where, when, and how. But in the mix, many things come to play to shape the political fortune of any country.
Honorable Minister, that's how you misinform the public.
From the political actors to the electorate, campaign to voting, from debates to policy decisions, big events happen to engage us in constant conversation.
That's what we're looking for. Not some people who are talking about ethnicity. No.
Who is on your mind?
Don't worry.
Join me every day on Politics Tonight, where we dissect issues that shape our political destiny. Politics Tonight, weekdays on TVC News.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this?
First, with breaking news.
Okay, welcome back. You saw a clip of it there because the military, the picture I wanted to talk to you about, the military, although these are not Zungeru local government of Niger State. Well, the mood of the National Military Cemetery in Abuja is a sober one, as families of the soldiers gathered for the, honor through the remains of the officers to be laid to rest. At that event, present are the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale, and the service chiefs. 36 troops were ambushed in attacks on the 13th and 14th of this month while fighting bandits in Niger State. The Nigeria Air Force, I think it's a MiG-171 that came on a casualty evacuation mission, also crashed in that unfortunate incident in the mountains of Shiroro in Niger State. These are not live pictures, but you get an idea. The event is ongoing. Okay, but back to a studio. Our guests, Tunde Olatunji, finance and economic expert, and Mukhtar Mohammed, stockbroker and CEO of Finance with Mukhtar. Okay, we were with Mukhtar before we went on break. Let me now come back to studio here. All of these things, it strikes me as you gentlemen are speaking that there's very little that doesn't interface with finance, generally speaking. For instance, both of you have spoken about the blue economy, and that is a new area. And I imagine that if it is handled right, maybe it's only a slight exaggeration to say that what we are depending on oil from, we can get a lot of out of there once our policy, our mining policy, and all of that is in order.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a new economic frontier, and for me, I see it as an innovative solution to solving part of the problems that we're talking about, because we cannot continue to talk about problems without identifying, viable solutions to addressing them. Mm-hmm. And for me, I see the creation of the marine and blue economy as a smart way of using one stone to kill multiple birds. Because if you look at the Nigerian, marine resources and endowment that falls under the blue economy, and if you look at the areas that we can actually invest into and come up with and begin to see dividends, you'll be so amazed. Take for instance, we talked about the challenge of forex. If Nigeria pays proper attention, like it's doing now, into that marine and blue economic sector, it has capacity to generate foreign exchange for us as a nation. From your coastal lines development to tourism to mining, that's what we call the seabed mining, to take, for instance, even building our capacity, developing our capacity to build ships. We begin to see the Nigerian Navy and some other buildings, even Nigeria having its own ocean liner, which we have had in the past. These are areas that can bring in a whole lot of resources. You can imagine, our ports, giving attention to our ports, doing away with some of the bureaucracy. What do you need 10, 15 agencies with diverse taxation doing at the port. The infrastructure needs to be renewed. We need to begin to see how do we maximize our inland waterways. These are areas. How do we develop our fishery and aquaculture? Morocco did something with their blue economy project recently, working with World Bank, and we're able to create thousands of jobs into the fish and the aquaculture sector. These are, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Dele in Ikeja has called in. Good morning to you, sir. Is Dele in Ikeja there?
Good speakers. Sir, you are doing a fantastic job. Hello.
Oh, good morning, sir. Thank you very much. Go ahead now, please.
Yeah, you are doing a very fantastic job, and God bless you, sir. And I also thank you to all the speakers you've been bringing. Just special reference to the person that came yesterday. Yeah. Now, you see, you're talking about economy, you're talking about this, you're talking about that. But we've not really got into the cancer. And we have just three as the cancer. The number one are the civil service, just like the man yesterday talked. This man has given us a very fantastic financial economic analysis. But if you don't go to the basis, the civil service, we are just joking. The dance, I'm an economist. It matters in economics. I know what I was saying this over 20 years ago. That man is a joke. We don't really have that. What they have is just some people in cash going around marketing funds. And if you're able to get 100 million for one bank, you move to another bank. In 5 years, you're a director. You start banking. Now we are facing it. Then number two, you see, the civil service by now, from directors to DG, even to some banks, by now they should be in ASCO, undergoing training for retirement. You understand? There's a need to gradually disband the civil service and reposition the civil service. That's number one. Number two, the judiciary. A good policeman, very few, you understand? We get hold of any criminal. In getting to the court, the judge will now say, based on technicality, we are hereby discharged. You know what will happen? When the policeman still sorts act again, if you just overlook it that it is based on technicalities again, you understand? The judiciary and the best head, someone like Palano, facing a judge. What do you think the judge is already intimidated? Back facing a judge. The best brain lawyers are not in the civil service. That's number two. The third one are the governors, and I like what the president said yesterday. That I will try my best. But people need to change what the governors are doing. Then, by the time we remove or we try to talk about these three cancers, I bet you, these are fantastic guys giving us good analysis. We have brains in Nigeria when it comes to things. But if you don't treat these cancers, method are just joking. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate your call there, Dele in Ikeja. Let me come to you, Mukhtar. In addition to what Tunde Olatunji was speaking about, he was speaking about the humongous potential in the whole blue economy thing that is new to us in Nigeria, not new in the world. We had an expert come in and talk to us about that, and you won't believe, of course you will believe, that for ages they've been trying to get the government to do what has been done now. Now, there's a whole ministry that, concerns itself with that. Now, let me add the other one. Solid minerals development. That also probably, that's a brand new ministry to us. That also can be very, very helpful if things are done right. Say we're looking for resources, we're looking for revenue, we're looking for outlets. That hopefully, what do you think about that? When you combine that blue economy that is relatively new, not that the experts didn't know about it, but we, the ordinary people, didn't necessarily know all about it. But it has been on for a couple of decades in the West. Now add solid minerals development as a ministry. And I'm sure that's going to also interface with the coordinating aspect of the Minister of Finance.
Yeah, yes, Uncle Yuri, you're right. Solid mineral has been there. We mustn't forget that before now we had the former governor of Ekiti State as the Minister for Solid Mineral. He came up with a lot of blueprints. Solid mineral contributed a lot to the GDP at that moment. But now the challenge with the solid mineral sector, which is mostly found in the northwest of the country, the security challenge. In short, documentaries and other investigations have gone in to say that the crisis that we are having, the banditry we are having in places like Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, is driven by illegal mining of our solid minerals. So definitely, I think the government should look at that. We mustn't forget the Ajakuta Steel Complex is still lying fallow. I think that's one bottleneck that no administration have been able to find a solution to. I hope the current minister will do that. We have the Butame that is lying low in somewhere in Ikiti, Ogun State. I mean, we need to begin to see that will help reduce the cost of our road construction also. I think it's a good thing. For the blue economy, what I'm happy about is that, remember the fight between Iza Bala and Rotimi Amechi, because of one is the MD of Nigerian Port Authority, then the Minister of Transport was in charge of that parastatal. I think I hope the president is able to make a difference between what the blue economy is, what it's, let it be a clear strategy. Because when you're talking about blue economy, are you still talking about very soon will be coming in, and they're still going to be, that's part of transportation. Will it still be under the Ministry of Transport, or will it not be definitely under the Minister for Blue Economy? We need to look at, and like my colleague in the studio say, we need to see how we can improve the infrastructure. We need to see how we can reduce the cost of doing business in the port. Yeah. Because a situation whereby somebody import a goods and you pay all your duties, and you are going out, you are paying levies again for going out. Yeah, it doesn't all go well for us.
All of those things are going to have to be dealt with. Sorry for butting in, but Mr. Ibrahim in Kaduna is waiting to join the conversation. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir, and good morning to your two guests.
Thank you.
In fact, two of your guests are speaking well extensively. I applauded and I commended them for a job. You see, why people, before the economy was put in place, I believe that there are two things to put in place. What is that? I have to, at least every sector or every side or every part of this country has their hello.
Yes.
Interest. And the only way to go is that whatever that this minister is going to put, the chief executive, Mr. President, everything will come to his trouble. It is what that he push out there that we bring the policy that he implemented that is going to drive the economy. That is just, it's not how we're able to find all those things. And then, no, not any state today that not have one mineral resources on tap. That is my concern. That is my area. And most of these are deposited in the local area. Please let them go back now to start stealing these things so that we're able to move forward. Nigeria, we're not moving because nothing is working. That is the only thing I have to say this afternoon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much for calling in. Well,
okay, I was going to add to what my other colleague just said about the mineral resources.
Mohammed.
I'm from a state that is well endowed with gold, and I know what the challenges have been. Not only gold, a good number of resources. Osun State has a large deposit of gold, and over time, interestingly, it is a good point that the current Minister of Marine and Blue Economy was the one who was able to attract the first major investment into the state. On gold, and as I speak to you, there is beyond the artisanal mining of gold, you now have a large scale gold plant and manufacturing going on. But something was also a very big challenge to us, and that is the fact that I've said this time with that number. As a country, we need to look into the laws around mining. There is need to have a legislative and a legal framework that will promote mining. What we are presently is not helpful. What you see is that whatever has to do with mining, it's the federal government's business, and so you can wake up tomorrow and somebody is digging your backyard because you had gotten an approval somewhere, and you see the level of the degree of environmental degradation that is going on. You even if you look at the act behind compensation for any discovery that is going on behind you discover that. People are paid hold ridiculous rates for that. So it's not really helpful. And so we need to pay serious attention to that sector. We call it, we begin to say it's illegal mining and all of that. But people make billions from this illegal mining. For how long do you want to classify it as illegal? What we need to do, let us define a framework. Let us know what we need to do to bring in our people, the local capacity of our people, the artisanal miners, are their ways by which was what, as we have experimented with in the past. Some of these guys build their capacity, make them to all over the world. You still have people who are into artisanal mining. Some will be the large scale. They can even serve as off-takers or you know, for the smaller ones, when you bring in the big players. So that, but again, is that the laws around our mining needs to be looked into. The policy that is supposed to drive a very serious mining sector needs to be put in place. So we will begin to look at how do we synergize all of this, because Nigeria needs to revamp its economic activity. Is long overdue, and we've got a lot of work to do, and there are so many low-hanging fruits that if we give serious attention to them, we'll begin to see an improvement. It's not going to be easy, but of course, you know, with goodwill and this right direction in the of policy, we'll get there.
Okay, and you know, I referred to, you know, my guest Tunde Olatunji as honorable at the beginning, and that's because he used to be in the Osun State House of Assembly. You notice that came out, if you were listening very carefully, about when he was speaking about what we were able to do in Osun. And the former governor of Osun now is also center and forward in this particular administration. Shakirat in Lagos, good morning to you, ma'am. Go ahead now, please.
Good morning. Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning. And I think I really appreciate the two speakers. Thank you so much. Concerning the aspect of reviving the economy, I appreciate the fact that Mr. Wale Edun is taking up that very task, and I wish him well. But coming to the aspect of the Minister of Finance helping to look for ways out to handle the economy, I'm coming down to the area of the local government aspect. And I want the Ministry of Finance to understand one thing. They are not really paying attention to the local government areas and the internal revenue aspect, coming down to dues, coming down to levies, coming down to taxes that are not even accountable into the government coffers. But at the same time, some people are really pressurizing the sellers in the local market, on the streets, and at the same time into some areas whereby the government cannot be able to reach into. I would appreciate the new Minister for Finance to help look into this area, because I believe that the internal revenue aspect of the economy is not really given much attention to, or probably some powers are really creating a threat for the government not really looking into that very aspect. That very internal revenue. So, when coming down to my own area, I believe that the people, let me say, the people on the street. I'm talking about those areas. People on the street are suffering, and remember, whatsoever is coming up from up, it is what happens on the ground level that brings out the end result of it being good or bad. Now, when people are coming out with goods or wares, taking it to the people outside there. Now, you want to sell something of 5 naira, somebody is already waiting outside there for you. You're collecting tickets at one point, and at another point you're collecting ticket. At another point you're collecting ticket. No, by the person got home, he found out that, okay, what I'm selling today, I'm unable to get anything because of what I've paid out. Okay, tomorrow I must add something to my money. To my sales, so that I can be able to have something to take home the following day.
All right then. Thank you very much, Shakirat. Really appreciate your call. It was quite exciting what you were contributing. That is the picture I was speaking about. A picture of the event I was speaking about earlier. The ceremony of honor and burial for the 22 soldiers killed in an ambush on troops in Zungeru, local government of Niger State. Those are live pictures from the event. And when we finish the program, we'll go over there and, you'll be able to see the rest of it. Mukhtar, coming back to you. You heard what that lady said, Mukhtar?
Yes, I did.
Yes. So she was more concerned with, look, at the end of the day, it's what the ordinary person on the street, the bottom of the pyramid, so to speak, how he is feeling that can usually determine how well we are doing. And at the moment, we spoke about it earlier, didn't we, that, for example, in the interest of savings, people are not even able to save anything simply because of, how do they put it, the condition that make crayfish bend.
Yeah, Uncle Yori, Yes, I think I mentioned it before she said it. I think the key driver of the Nigerian economy is the informal sector. And I don't see, I hope this government will look at it. That is the gold mine. The informal sector employed over 80% of Nigerians. That is a sector that needs a lot of attention. And that informal sector, when we're talking about informal sector, we are talking about unskilled workers, or what they call unskilled. They are what we call skills, or people that are working in the street, the woman that is selling pepper, the guy that is also a mechanic, a panabita. Those are the key drivers of the Nigerian economy.
Indeed.
How do you improve them? That is where no government have been able to look at that informal sector. What we concentrate on is in the formal sector. That informal sector, revenue from that informal sector, if government is able to provide amenities for them to continue to grow in their business, it's enough to take care of our budget deficits. We need to look at the informal sector. It's not just in the area of just making policy, but in the area of implementing this policy.
Indeed.
Look,
you know, Mukta, I'm afraid, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but luckily you're one of us virtually, so you know how it is, some of those production limitations. But I'm going to have to thank you also, because I appreciate that where you are based right now, reaching us live, it's all sorts of unholy hours. So we understand that, and I appreciate your making the effort to be able to appear in our time zone, what is normal to us. Thank you very much for coming on the program this morning. Appreciate you.
A pleasure, Uncle Yori.
Indeed. And also, you know, coming home here now, you gentlemen, you've helped us sort of understand the matter a bit better, hopefully, but you can see that everybody's interested in it. Look at that young lady, and, you know, her presentation was all about what you had spoken about earlier, that this, whatever is doing, whatever is happening, must trickle down so that we now know that we are in fact, Wale Edun said it, that it is all of this, the things that he spoke about, reining in inflation, increasing productivity, boosting savings and all of that. All of this will lead to a general sort of improved condition of living for the ordinary person in Nigeria.
Well, because, you know, at the center of our problem as a nation is largely economic issues. You can't even solve insecurity without addressing economic problems. I mean, how do a nation survive or expect not to feel secured if you have a home employment rate that is as high as 34%? That is huge, that is massive, and they are largely young persons. So that's why it's very important for all of us to give proper attention to whatever we need to do to create jobs, we must do. Whatever we need to do to create wealth for our people, we must do. It's not as if Nigeria's GDP, for instance, did not grow in the last 10 years, but we must begin to look at inclusivity. It's not just about one big person getting richer. Others must also be able to, we must bring as many people as possible into that safety net of being able to live. And so we've paid a lot of attention, for instance, to big corporations, to big businesses, but I've interacted a lot with the small, medium scale enterprise, and I believe so strongly that even with cheaper investment or some of the tax holidays that were given to big businesses, do you know that if we channel this to some of our small and medium scale enterprises, you will see improvement.
Indeed.
And that you will see more jobs being created.
That's something.
So that is for us to look into. Very, very important.
Something for the coordinating minister of the economy to look into. And I want to thank you very much, as I've always said, Tunde Olatunji, former legislator in Osun State and finance and economic expert. Thank you very much for coming on our program.
It's a pleasure being here.
Indeed. So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Bye-bye for now.
Go stay wearing uniform. You want to treat people anyhow? Imagine this officer. I will clear our line.
Don't cost.
Bruh, come on there. Size no matter. The biggest dragon for Westeros, now small picking face sound.
No
one tells a story like we do. Showmax, Africa's original streaming service.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Do you spend the night trying to get comfortable? Your knees rub bone on bone. Your back and hips ache. You wake up in pain?
Not anymore. ShopX TV is proud to introduce the Contour Legacy Pillow, the patented, ergonomically designed tapered leg pillow that naturally fits the contours of your legs, knees and thighs to help align your spine and alleviate pain. Watch, when you sleep on your side, your leg falls forward, twisting your pelvis and lower back, putting pressure on your spine, hip and sciatic. But the Contour Legacy Pillow cushions your knees and cradles your legs, relieving stress on joints while restoring your lower back alignment. Sleeping on your side, your leg comes over and puts you out of alignment, causing lower back pain, hip pain, even knee pain. By using the Contour Legacy Pillow, it restores the natural alignment of the spine, helping to alleviate pain and pressure, leading to much more restful sleep. Old-fashioned leg pillows are bulky, but the anatomical design of the Legacy Pillow fits perfectly the shape of your body the way nature intended. You can even use two together for full leg alignment. Legacy Pillow is exclusively ventilated, so it always stays cool and dry. With top crescent design, it cuddles up to you perfectly and easily moves with you. Ordinary pillows go flat, but the Legacy Pillow is made up of soft memory foam, so it never loses its shape and the cover is machine washable. The Contour Legacy Pillow is now available in Nigeria, exclusively from ShopX TV. You could be paying up to 500,000 naira for an orthopedic bed that doesn't properly support your spine. But call the number on your screen now and get 2 Legacy leg pillows for just 69,900 naira and get relief from back and hip issues. But wait! If you call now, we'll upgrade you to the Contour Better Sleep Collection. The collection comes with 2 Contour Legacy leg pillows and 2 Contour Cool Gel head pillows at no extra charge. The Contour Cool Gel head pillow's soothing orthopedic support will cradle your head and neck for full alignment, while keeping you cool all through the night for the best sleep of your life. Incredible! That's 2 Contour Legacy pillows and 2 Cool Gel head pillows for just 69,900 naira. And that's not all. Place your order now and we'll also deliver your Contour Better Sleep collection with no shipping charge. But hurry!